Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Droid Life Show, episode 59 tonight. I'm Kellen, your host. With me, Tim, Ron, Eric. Say hi, everybody.
Howdy guys, Tim here.
Hey, this is Ron.
Hey, I'm Eric.
So welcome back after a little week break there. We've got plenty of stuff to go over, like LG G3 and some random event in Korea today with some semi-official specs, we think. We got a Moto 360 price that we want to talk about. EvLeaks gave us a 360-degree render of the supposed HTC M8 Prime. At least that's code name for it. I still can't believe that we've seen a 360 thing so soon. We'll talk about the end of the Nexus program, since we've got another rumor on that, leaving in favor of this Android Silver program. Talk about VO LTE and HD voice, because that seems to be a big hot thing with carriers now. Google and their value over Apple, apparently. Some apps and games, all that good stuff. So let's kick it off, though. It's Moto 360 talk. So this morning, Motorola announced on Twitter that they're going to run a contest, and they said, essentially, here's some PSD files, design a Moto 360 or what you would want to see on the screen or something like that. And since it was a contest, they said they're going to give away a Moto 360. So in the rules for the contest, they had to add a price for the average retail value of a Moto 360, which is $249. So we could kind of assume that the price is going to be close to $249. I don't know that that's necessarily going to be the retail. It could be $299 or $200 or $230. We're not fully sure, but it should be somewhere in that ballpark. So just kind of want to run around and go, do you guys think $249 is a good price for the 360? Is it too high? Is it too low? Just right? What do you think, Tim?
I think that's the sweet spot. I think it's a lot less than people were anticipating. Seeing as how Motorola was spending a lot of time and talking about how premium and how design-oriented the device was, and seeing some of the partners, or not partners, but people they were working with, going into their design, kind of the evolution to bring the device to fruition. And we were just expecting, I think, $349 and up. At least I was. I was like, oh, this thing's going to be like $400. They're throwing around the word premium so much. So I was a little worried. But to see $250, I think it's just fine. Everyone's going to be throwing money at the monitors and all that. I think they won't have any problem selling this device.
Yeah, seems like a pretty good price. What do you think, Ron?
I mean, we still don't really know everything that it can do, so it's kind of hard to say if it's a good price or a bad price.
That is true.
That's the thing, like I'm excited to see all that. I'm excited to find out what the little black strip at the bottom of it is actually for, like all those things, like
Why do you have to deliberately sandbag me, Ron? I'm saying, like, just based on what we saw or what we see so far. I know we don't know.
Just a render and people having devices that don't light up on their wrists. That's all we've seen. Like,
it lit up on Matthias's wrist, sir.
Okay.
Matthias like slowly sliding his wrist back in his shirt.
Yeah. So either way, from what we have seen, I think $250 is a good price.
you think something that lights up on your wrist is good? Okay, that's great. Hey, that's fine.
I'm just, if it was just put this into like perspective. If this was the iWatch and we only saw a render of it and it looked super sexy, and Apple was like, this thing's only going to cost you $250, people would be like, oh my god. I think it's the same thing. It has no difference what it's going to do or not. We know it's going to have some basic functionality.
It makes a huge difference what it can do or not. What are you talking about?
You know it's going to be your basic smartwatch. It's not going to do anything crazy.
We don't know that. We don't know.
I think we can safe to assume that we have an idea of what the device will do. You're going to be able to check your email. We've seen what Android Wear can do thanks to Kellen's YouTube video, just looking over the SDK and stuff. We know basic functionality. It's not like we're blind and we don't know what to expect, I think.
I guess so far at this point we know it's going to handle notifications in like a card style and then also give you some Google Now, right? That's kind of what we at least know, right?
Google Now on your wrist plus notifications. That's what I'm expecting. Not like a crazy app ecosystem or anything like that, because I don't think that's what smartwatches need to be. So.
Yeah.
No, they don't. Right, and we've talked about that ad nauseum. But I'm just saying, like, based on $249, like I'm less interested in the price, because I'm sure people would even buy it for $350.
Yeah.
Depending on what it is. Like the big issue is, okay, what can it do for that price? How long does it last on battery and everything? Like that stuff I think is far more interesting than what it actually costs, because nobody's going to care, if it's $250 and it lights up and tells you that you have one Gmail or 1,000 Gmails. Like Like depends on what the functionality is, how it works, how well it performs, like all that stuff. So I think that stuff's more interesting.
Sorry.
Eric, what do you think?
I think it's a pretty good price considering premium and luxury watches get up to be up like $500, $600 easily. So I think $250 is a pretty good starting point. Granted, to Ron's point, we don't know exactly what it's going to do, but I think Motorola is going to take the less is more approach here, to whereas
Like the Moto X.
I don't want my watch to be able to have all the functionality that my phone does. So if they can find a way to get relevant information to the phone or to the watch, in a unique way, and they can keep the battery life up. There's a whole list of things, but I think $250 is a pretty good starting point. And then of course from there you can have, ultra premium editions of like made out of steel or something like that. I don't think they will, but $250 is a pretty good starting point.
Yeah, I think most of the people, once we posted up that price today in the comments, said yes. Like Tim said, they were just throwing money at the screen, I think is what was going on. So it seems like if that ends up being the price, that people seem pretty satisfied with $250, and I'm pretty happy with that. I thought it was going to be $350, like you guys mentioned. I thought $350, maybe even close to $400. They sort of made it sound like, we're not cutting any corners. We went with this really unique round sort of styling, which took a lot of engineering and all this stuff. This is a premium device, but I guess it would have been bad if the Moto 360 cost more than, say, like the Moto X. That's probably not a good move there.
That would be sort of embarrassing.
With no radios in there or a camera.
Yeah, but nobody's calling the Moto X premium though either.
Yeah, but we kind of were initially, weren't we?
Kind of.
Well, we only called it the greatest Android phone ever created. I mean, it does actually. The phone is. I mean, it may not feature premium specs, but the build quality is just fine. I mean, that's your own definition of premium then. I mean, are you thinking, metal aluminum body with beautiful aluminum siding, like the iPhone and whatnot, or your Galaxy S5, with the premium look, or the.
I think he's saying you can't call something premium if it has that terrible of a camera.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
It might not be a premium camera experience, but it's a premium Android experience for quite, affordable.
Yes.
So.
Yep, absolutely.
So the other note from that story was the contest winner is going to be picked on June 24th. So if you're checking your calendars, Google I/O starts on June 25th.
Oh
I don't know if there is any sort of relation there, but seems kind of odd that they would decide to give one away the day before.
Sounds pretty confirmed to me.
Confirmed date. So I don't know if that means we're going to get it at I/O. We'll get a G Watch at I/O. We don't have. It's not like Motorola has a press event on our calendar yet for June 24th or something like that. I mean, who knows? That could still happen. But yeah. So there's a little hype beasting there. But yeah, $249 seems like a pretty decent deal. If
for not knowing what it does.
For not knowing what it does. I guess I'm just looking at it and going, this watch looks nicer than
anything else.
Like a Fossil or a Michael Kors or a Diesel watch or something like that. Like I think the design's more classic and sort of timeless, and so that's about the price of some of those watches. So I might just buy it just for it being a decent looking watch. But if it also adds smartphone or like smartwatch functionality, seems like it's really worth it.
It's a great point.
360, $249. All right. Any other thoughts on the 360? Are you buying one at $249? Without knowing what it does.
No. Oh yeah, blind faith.
Yes, blind.
Like, take it. Just give me the render for $250. I'll take it.
Okay. Let's talk LG G3 again for like the 8th week in a row. So the LG G3, I don't know that it's quite topped the 1.8 in terms of leaks. I mean, the 1.8, remember there was like 12-year-old kids doing reviews of it. So I don't think it's quite reached that level. But we feel like we know just about everything. We've seen I don't know how many renders with the screen off and then the screen on and lock screen widgets and pictures of the camera and lasers and all kinds of stuff, right? But today there was apparently a event or something in Korea where LG unveiled the device And I don't necessarily know that this was a public event, although there is pictures, I think, from what looks like a bus station or something with posters for it. Anyways, we got specs. Tim, do you want to run down what the specs, at least from this presentation, were?
Yeah, the specs from this presentation was that the device features a 5.5-inch QHD display, 2560 by 1440. That it only featured a Snapdragon 801 processor, 3 gigs of RAM, 32 gigabits of storage, or gigabytes of storage, 3,000 milliamp hour battery, 13 megapixel camera with OIS plus technology, and I believe that was it. And then it almost kind of fits in the same kind of shell as the G2. It's a little bit bigger, but it actually shouldn't be that much bigger of a footprint than the original G2. Or I shouldn't say original G2, but bigger than the G2. And I think that was it. And there was a lot of controversy taking place in the comments about the 801 over the 805, and I'm sort of still feeling the 805 for this one, because they put a model number on one of the slides that they presented, reportedly, and it's LG5400SKL, so it's definitely like a Korean version and it's not the UK model number or the US model number, so it could be something completely different that we see. I mean, Android 4.4, LTE Advanced, all that stuff. What you would kind of expect.
Yeah, so
4.0.
So essentially what Tim's saying is everyone freaked out because the Korean variant is apparently an 801 instead of an 805, and people were deciding that they didn't want to buy it now if it had an 801 because this 801 is all of a sudden a slouch. It was fine for the S5 and it was fine for the M8, but the G3 it's not okay. So people were freaking out a little bit. But like Tim said,
if you don't innovate in a month or two, then you don't deserve my money, basically.
Well, and like the Snapdragon 810 is going to be out 6 months from now, and is the 805 then just terrible? I mean, yeah, apparently this stuff.
The minute it's announced, it's terrible. That's the problem.
It sounds like
outdated.
But like Tim said, there was a model number associated with today's sort of spec leak, and it doesn't even come close to the model number, like you said, in UK or the US. So it could be that this UK variant has an 801, but maybe the US and UK have 805s. Either way, I don't think it really matters that much, but apparently matters to quite a few people.
It doesn't matter at all. Like pretty much across the board, everybody said that last year's best phone was the Moto X, which did not have top-of-the-line specs. Right. Like the fact that you have a slightly less performing process, like that doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. So
the one argument that actually kind of stuck out to me a lot of times, people were just sort of commenting that didn't really have a point, but Kyle, who I believe wrote this up, he said, I was like, you still interested in the G3? He's been talking about the G3. Kyle Wiegers, our own Kyle Wiegers. And I was like, you still interested with the 801 if it comes with the 801? And he's like, no, man, it's going to be just like the DNA, where the GPU is too weak to push that many pixels. If it's coming with QHD, then it's going to need a GPU that can really take advantage of that. So, I mean, he had somewhat of a point, but I still feel as if it's not a good enough a point to say, well, the 801's kind of crap, in comparison, and it can't handle the job. I just don't believe that LG, if this is even to be believed, would take the chance of putting in a piece of hardware that can't, really maximize the performance of a flagship device. So I think it's silly to think that.
If that is the case, where it's a phone that requires the 805 in order to push that screen, like that,
it was a bad idea in the first place.
Yeah, like it raises all sorts of other questions, like, oh, you're willing to say that we innovated with more, with higher specs or whatever, but you actually made a crappier device and a crappier experience because of that. Like, if that's the case, like that's not like that's the problem with all these companies, quote unquote, innovating. Like everybody claiming they're all innovating and doing all these things, like. When it's just you putting in like top-of-the-line specs, even when your phone's not ready, and it leads to either worse battery life or slower performance, like that's why people like phones like the Moto X that don't have top-of-the-line specs.
Of course.
But it's totally like they've got everything nailed down perfectly, so the device performs like one of these top-of-the-line devices, and in some cases even better, like we've seen with the M8 and the GS5, or like with multitasking lagging and things like that, versus on the X where boom, you've got it right away. You can jump into your next app. Like it's little things like that where you blame that on tweaks or whatever it is. Like it's little things like that that do add up and that do change people's perspectives of the devices, especially people that are super nerdy about Android and care about the 805 versus the 801. Like those kind of little glitches in performance, like that's where it matters. That's where it counts to people if they're going to be getting those kind of devices.
From what I've seen in the comments section, and I've been talking to people on Twitter, I mean, the G3 is one of the more highly anticipated devices I feel like I've ever seen since the G2 was so underrated last year. And all everyone's talking about the G3, and I really feel that this is LG's chance to kind of, throw HTC to the side. They're too busy worried about what Samsung is doing in all their marketing. And LG's just going to come, guns blazing with the G3, and I really hope it just dominates the market, man.
They can't, though. Huawei already took over.
Oh, damn. And then we got OnePlus, who's stealing market share from everybody, even though you can't buy the phone. Oh, it's great. It's good stuff.
Well, that's their whole plan is actually just to get everybody to destroy their phones and destroy market share.
There you go.
I'm just looking at Qualcomm's web. Sorry, go ahead, Eric.
More obsessed with what Samsung's doing than LG, so I wouldn't say that HTC is more obsessed. I think history has shown time and time again that LG is on second on that list.
Yeah.
Of what list?
Of people wanting to copy Samsung or try to
Oh,
follow.
LG tops the list of wanting to copy Samsung. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, this phone does not look anything like a Galaxy S5. I feel like Samsung shot themselves in the foot with the Galaxy S5, at least from the Android fanboy perspective. It's like, oh, it's the same damn phone as the S4. So LG's giving us something completely different. I think they're killing it in terms of bumping up the specs. I mean, that's not what Samsung did. They threw in a freaking fingerprint scanner. I mean, come on, that's not what anyone wanted. No one wanted a heart rate monitor. No one wanted that. No one asked for that. We wanted QHD. We wanted LTEA. We wanted all this crazy stuff. And they gave us TouchWiz that completely bloats the... I don't know if you've seen the video. The Moto E beats the S5 in performance testing. Give me a break. That phone...
Moto E.
I stopped using the S5, dude. I'm telling you, that phone sucks.
You're switching to the Moto E?
No, I'm not switching to I'm back to the Nexus 5, but I can't use the Galaxy S5 just because the performance is too hindering. I'm very passionate about it. I don't think that phone is very good. So I'm really the G3 is my fanboy pick of 2014 so far, without knowing anything that it does.
Just back on the Snapdragon 805 stuff. The 805, I'm just looking at Qualcomm's site again just to make sure of everything. So the 801 can run an Ultra HD display, but the 805 is like built specifically for UHD displays. It just doesn't seem like if it's going to have a quad HD that LG would put an 801 in it. And I was looking through the slides from this morning, and did anyone actually see Snapdragon 801 on any of those slides? Like, I know people reporting out of there said Snapdragon 801. I mean, I guess it's kind of confirming 801 on that one, but I would be surprised. I'm kind of with Tim on this one that the 805 will come in the US and UK variant either way. But, I mean, again, the 805 really is built for quad HD displays, and it does have a way better GPU, so Kyle is right on that as well. It would probably help a lot if it did have the 805, so I don't know. We'll see. We'll find out on Tuesday.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to come with the 805. That way we can just be like, see, all you guys overreacted. You should have just, like, stay calm, woo-sa. Like, just calm down. They're just phones, babe. Anyways.
They're more than just phones.
It's life, I know.
More than meets the eye, Tim.
Thank you.
So, so that's kind of what we saw today, and everyone freaked out a little bit. Everyone got a little worried. But Tim and I will be there Tuesday to know officially and obviously report back everything. So, yeah, we'll know. In less than a week, we will know everything there is to know about the G3. I can't wait. I'm really excited, actually. It's going to be a fantastic little phone, I think. Big phone.
Big little phone.
Yeah, big little. All right, so let's move on to the this HTC M8 Prime. So, EvLeaks has been getting into it with HTC PR people for a long time now, actually. But at the end of the weekend, one of HTC's PR people mentioned something about someone that's been leaking stuff over the last couple of days has been wrong, and EvLeaks assumed the guy was pointing the finger at him and took it personally. And to like get back at him, EvLeaks just started spamming off specs from this supposed HTC M8 Prime. And then the next day, he posted a 360-degree render of the device. I I don't really know what to think about this because we just got the M8, but yet there's already 360-degree renders of it. Like usually you see these renders on like a carrier website where you find them, they're already posted up because they're waiting to go live on like a sales page. So it sounds like a crazy device. Tim, do you want to run down this as well?
Yes, I can do that for you. Yeah, don't piss off Evan apparently, or else you're gonna feel his wrath, not lash, wrath. But he says for the M8 Prime, 5.5-inch QHD display, Snapdragon 805 processor for anyone concerned, 3 gigs of RAM, Cat6 LTE radios, water resistance, much like the Galaxy S5, and that was it. So.
And then a lot of hardware changes.
A lot of what?
A lot of hardware changes. It looks a lot different than the regular M8.
Well, it doesn't look exactly like an M8. It's definitely it has the same skeleton, I guess you would say, or the same look. It has boom sound speakers, has a sensor right above the display. That could be cameras. I'm waiting for the 360 render to come back.
It's not.
around.
I just saw it. It's not the camera. It
Oh
looks
no,
like
that's in the top right.
Yeah.
2 very big black bars, just like like we're on the M8.
Yeah.
Power button on the
Duo
side.
camera, dual LED flash. I mean, what else is there to say? It kind of looks like a Transformers version or something of the M8.
It's like kind of Moto 8's, it's kind of M8 styling, but not at the same time. Like it has some of those, like you said, similar features, but yet it's. I don't know if this is supposed to replace the Max. Like, is this the new Max? Because it has the lock switch on the side and all that stuff, and it looks huge. But it also has this camera that protrudes out from the back. So I don't know if that means finally an 8 ultra-pixel camera. Hopefully we can get rid of the 4 ultra-pixel camera. But yeah, it just doesn't look like the same metallic, unibody sort of finish that was on the M8. It looks kind of different pieces, and it's kind of a black and silver two-tone. I get the feeling this is like going to Sprint, like has some weird exclusive or something.
It does look like a Sprint phone.
Doesn't it?
Like a unique material to be made out of.
Oh yeah, there's supposed to be some weird unique material on the back. That's right. I have no idea what it is.
Oh, they just mentioned it was what was that? Like a polycarbonate.
So plastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's plastic.
Well, they gave it a fancy name. It was a
Yeah, they did.
composite of aluminum and liquid silicone.
That's right. So it sounded even fancier, yeah.
Sounds kind of hot, sexy. Liquid.
It just looks huge. I know it's tough to tell it's not being compared to anything, but it looks like a massive phone.
5.5-inch.
Yeah, I'm not really a fan, especially with all that black bezel. Instead of just the HTC black bar at the bottom, there's now a second one up top with the sensor in it. Even though every other phone, the sensor always goes up top.
HTC doesn't know how to not or take away bezel. So
It's probably because the phone's so big, they couldn't put the sensor all the way up top. They had to put it closer to the screen. It's just massive. But anyways, this thing we got a 3D render of it. We have a list of specs. That just seems like it's coming soon almost. You never see stuff like this, finished 360-degree renders, unless something's kind of close, right?
Usually, but then again, maybe it's just that normally leakers hang on to things for a while until it gets closer, and he felt like he was, apparently it wasn't him that was being called out, but, maybe Evlix just decided to throw it out. And
yeah, he was being personally attacked by HTC on Twitter, and he had to respond accordingly.
Oh,
right.
that's so funny.
So maybe that's. We don't always know, how long people hold on to things until they come out. So
that was just in his back pocket. He spits stuff like that out every day. That's nothing for him. 360 render. Here you go. Make it render. Good guy. We need more people like Evan.
I don't know about that, but we appreciate leaks because they give us stories to write about and things like that. So that's out there. I don't really know what else to make of it. Like I said, I think it's a Sprint phone that no one else will buy.
It totally looks like a Sprint phone. That's what it was, too. The coloring.
Yeah.
Looks like a terrible Sprint phone. Maybe they'll call it like the Evo something.
Harman Kardon Evo 4G.
Haters.
Yeah. Hey, they got to innovate some way. Maybe, adding bezel. Everybody else is getting rid of it. They're bringing it back.
Bring it back.
Bring back the bezel. There's your
Bring back the
hashtag
bezel.
right there. Bring back the bezel.
Bring back
Bring
bezel.
back our bezel.
Please no. Yeah, LG's doing absolutely away with bezel, and HTC's like, shit, we need another black bar.
Gotta differentiate.
Yeah, wrong way, HTC. All right, so also from EvLeaks, I believe, is a second report now that the Android Silver program, which sounds like a glorified Google Play Edition program, is going to replace the Nexus program. So he says no Nexus 6 coming this year. Instead, we're getting Android Silver next February, and LG will have one of the first devices running a Snapdragon 810. So speaking of new Snapdragon 810 with 64-bit, and that's kind of all he said. He just said February. I guess my first reaction was I'm kind of disappointed. I know we talk about the Nexus line and Google Play Edition lines, and we don't understand like their purpose for the most part. But the Nexus line I always took as, first of all, it was affordable, and Google always used it as their way to push out new versions of Android. I know they could do that on any device if they really wanted to, but it always struck me as like their vision of a phone, their vision of Android. So I'm kind of sad to hear that the Nexus program might be going away. Because Android Silver, again, to me, just sounds like Google Play Editions, but they want to push those into carrier stores and get behind them finally and all of this stuff. But that also sounds to me like goodbye, good pricing that we saw with the Nexus. So I don't know. What do you guys think about Nexus going away, Android Silver? Any sort of immediate reactions there?
I feel like the affordable pricing is what was really attractive about the Nexus program. You were getting good specs, good hardware, for a reasonable price. I don't know if Google can say no to that anymore. If they want to stop that. I don't know how much money they were making off the Nexus program. I know you have to sell that a little bit above cost, and you're probably not making too much. But it was really important, I think, to allow people the option, the opportunity to get a stock Android device, that ran well. So
and developers. I mean, it was kind of targeted at developers too, right? Give developers the option, yeah.
Absolutely right. But I mean, at the same time, then it would make more sense for Samsung to be throwing out, cheaper devices with TouchWiz on it. Because there's more Samsung devices than there are Nexus devices out there. But at the same time, I would be really bummed. I would pour some out for Nexus, but that's all I have to say. I'm just really upset. I don't want the Nexus to go away, and I've said that many times before.
Yeah.
So.
Anybody else on this Android Silver stuff?
I don't necessarily think that it's like the death of Nexus. I think it's just going to be different. I mean, we like it as it is now, but if Google's not making any money off of it, then why do we expect them to just keep dumping money into this and losing things?
Because they're the most valuable competitor. They're doing just fine.
The only thing that stuck out to me was that it's not going to launch until next February, which is almost like, what, 10 months from now, 11 months? Like, that's almost a full year before we're going to see something. That seems way too long for Google to just be sitting on their hands waiting for something to come out. I know EvLeaks is usually pretty on point about this stuff, but that just seems a long way off to me.
I don't think time is really of concern to Google when it comes to releasing the Nexus device. If they're not going to do it, then they're just not going to do it. I mean, because the Nexus 5 came out or it was announced October 31st of last year. So really, I mean, it's a new phone still, basically. I mean, probably in the 2-year cycle of things, of support for devices, they'd be like, whatever, they can just have the Nexus 5 for another half a year or 3/4 of a year until we got something better to give them. I just don't know if they really care about the time frame.
They might be moving away from. I mean, look at the Nexus 10, right? We thought we were getting a new one last fall with the Nexus 5, and it's been out of stock for 7 months or something now, and it's not coming back. I don't think.
Yeah.
Well, and I think this is not proof positive of anything, but. So back when the Nexus 1 came out, there was a lot of talk that I think there was even a lawsuit from Philip K. Dick's estate, but in Do Android's Dream of Electric Sleep and then or Electric Sheep and then Blade Runner, there's Nexus 6 are a type of the androids. So I think there was a lawsuit or at least talk about it. So I would not be surprised. That's the model of android that's specifically mentioned in the book/movie. I kind of wouldn't be surprised if that's why there's not going to be a Nexus 6. Like, there's always like worried about like I remember when it first came out, like talk about that, I was like, that's so far away. Like, who cares about that? And now we're like finally to the point where it could be a Nexus 6.
Wow.
Could they just call it something else, though? You know what I mean? Like
Sure.
we had the Galaxy Nexus with the Nexus S, and then all of a sudden they went Nexus 4, Nexus 5. I don't know. It seems like we could go.
Who knows? I'm just saying that happens to correlate with. I mean, that's early. You know, that's 2009 or whatever, a long time ago.
That's
With rumors
interesting.
like that. But I'm just saying there is a correlation with that. Maybe it's a good time to say, hey, we're going to step away and do something else. Maybe that's just an internal name, and they're going to still call it something else. Who knows? But but that is one thing to consider.
Well, and I think it simplifies everything too, because when you get into Google's ecosystem, then you got to learn about Android, and then there's not just Android phones, there's also Nexus phones, and you're like, oh, well, what's that? And you have to go in and explain all this kind of thing. I think, to me, I don't know, it just seems like they're kind of streamlining the whole thing and making it more. You have Google and you have Android, and that's all you need to know, and you can kind of go from there. But to explain the whole Nexus program, and you have a Nexus 10 and a Nexus 5 and the LG Nexus, and then somebody else makes a different Nexus. If they're trying to market it more widely to people, I could see the Android Silver program being a little bit more streamlined.
I guess what I don't understand about it is these reports say that they're going to create this Android Silver program, and Google's going to fork out all this cash to help engineer phones and potentially promote them and go into carrier stores and try to get customers, like point of sale support, all this stuff. But what I don't understand is, like, why would LG say, well, they might say, okay, if you want to, help us engineer this phone and then maybe market it a little bit, but LG's still trying to sell the G3. And so it's like Google pushing people out of LG's own phones. It's like people are worried about Samsung leaving Android and going to Tizen. If Google's like creating this own brand, they're going to invade carrier stores and push it with all this marketing stuff, and then they're competing with Samsung. So then it's Google competing with Samsung. They have this own brand of phones. Is that going to make Samsung happy? And they're supposed to be buddies now. Remember that story not that long ago where Google and Samsung were best friends now, and they were going to start working together on Android? Well, now this Android Silver thing seems like the complete opposite of that. I guess the whole thing is just confusing to me. I don't understand how Google thinks they're going to invade carrier stores and essentially compete with their own partners. It's kind of what it sounds like to me anyway. And maybe I'm sort of blowing that out of proportion, but that's just kind of how it stands. I don't know.
Well, they've always had that tension. That tension has always existed as soon as the Nexus line came out, and there's been people like Charlie Kindle who's been pointing this out for forever, that Google has in some ways lost control of their ecosystem when they had companies like Samsung just making huge amounts of money, and Google doesn't seem to be doing that. Google continues to refuse to talk about how much money they're making from mobile specifically with advertising. We still don't know how that parses out exactly for them. I think they're obviously a little touchy about the subject because that reveals how much Android is making them and how that parses out exactly. But I mean, that's always going to be an issue whenever Google's making hardware that directly competes with what their partners are making or whatever. But, and I've said this a million times, I'll say it again, like Samsung can't leave Android, because if they do that, then they would have to get people to switch over to their app ecosystem and switch over to, like, there's so much work that Samsung would have to do on top of convincing everybody to leave all the apps they paid for, all the services they're using through Google that they won't have access to. Like, that's not happening, like, ever, unless, Samsung goes crazy. Like, it doesn't make sense for Samsung as a company. They would undoubtedly lose tons of customers that would then go to LG or HTC or whoever else.
Moto.
Or Moto, maybe, if they're still around. Like, that's the thing. Like, that's not happening, which gives Google the space to do things like this, right? And I think the big concern is, okay, if that was one thing when they're doing it with Nexus devices that they only sell in their store, that on their store online, and kind of in carrier stores, but nobody really knows about them. They don't do this big, huge push, especially not Samsung-size push, right?
Right.
That's the question: is, are they going to start promoting these? Every time we bring this up, people go, "Oh, there's a commercial on the Grammys and it's on Google's website, stuff like that." Yeah, they do advertise them. It is not Samsung level though. Like, they're not going head to head with them. Like, Those
They're
are
not buying the
different
Olympics.
things.
They're not buying the Oscars.
Yeah,
You know,
they didn't buy a terminal.
Buying
Like
the
right.
they're not. Yeah, like Samsung does insane things. Google isn't doing that level of stuff. Like yes, they do advertise them. Don't freak out about that. If you do, fine, email Tim. But like that's something else entirely different. Yeah, don't complain to me. Complain to Tim. Like that's something else entirely different. Like they're not competing directly. They could, and Samsung couldn't do anything about it. But then Google just looks like a bunch of dicks for doing that. So I don't think they're gonna do that. They might have a more premium phones if that's what silver even means. We don't know. Like again, this is all hearsay. Like we don't know anything of substance. So that's the I think when they're doing the Nexus line and things are on the lower end, that makes it a little bit more blatant that they're not competing because the devices are in different categories. Even if you're buying GB edition, they're totally different price categories. If that continues, great. If it doesn't, it still doesn't matter because they're like, what is Samsung going to do? What is LG? Like, they can't leave. They're stuck. Sorry, move on.
They can't. I just still think it's like not the best business practice to like directly compete with the people. I guess they're giving Android away for free. So
they're giving it away and what's the alternative? You go to Microsoft, that's also competing with their OEMs because they just bought Nokia. Like there are no alternatives. That's everybody's screwed. And anybody that writes an article saying, oh, they might consider going to Windows Phone, no, they won't. What they're going to join with 3 to 4% worldwide. They're going to be your number one seller in Italy. Great, congratulations. Like. It's not like right now, and that's not to say that things can't change. Obviously, they can. Like nobody thought Apple would build a smartphone ever, and Palm CEO famously derided them for doing that, saying they can't just walk in and change everything. That does happen from time to time, right? But it takes a big, giant change. Samsung isn't doing that. Samsung is still slowly changing things here and there, but mostly copying things after somebody else takes the time to put the actual work into doing things. Like nobody's innovating on that kind of a level yet. We're not seeing these huge breakthrough changes. Like that could happen when we move away from smartphones. Like as we saw the shift from computers being the main computing device to smartphones being the main computing device for people. If there's another device that takes over that sometime in the future, yeah, that's where you could see your shift in terms of ecosystem. But we're not there yet. And Google has all the power. Samsung's making all the money outside of Apple. Like nothing's changing there. If Samsung changes to using Tizen, they're going to lose customers. They're going to lose money. That's just not an option. So it'd be great if people would stop writing articles about that instead of like thinking about it for 3 seconds and realizing, oh, they can't do that because they'd lose all their customers and money. Like it's stupid. Like I don't know. It just that stuff drives me crazy. Oh, they could go to Microsoft. No, they can't. Like
no, they can't. No.
There's no money there.
I guess if I'm LG and Google comes to me and says we're creating this special Android Silver program and we're going to help promote and pay for everything, I guess I'd be okay with it as long as they're not going to sell phones for $300 and I'm still going to make profit off it. I guess then it doesn't matter, right? So if Android Silver is going to still make LG money along with their G3 and all that, I guess it doesn't really matter anyway. And I would imagine they probably wouldn't agree to do it unless they're still making some cash. Like I would imagine LG still makes money from the Nexus 5 even if Google doesn't. Otherwise, I don't know why they would really do it. So, but like you said, we don't really know, right? Again, we don't know what's going on here. There's a couple reports, so we'll see. And I don't think we're going to find anything out at I/O. We're probably not going to find anything out until the fall. So.
No, and the other thing too is like even if they do compete like with devices that are the same class and category, however we would define that, if it's just by price or whatever else, like look how long it took for somebody to push LG out of third place in terms of sales. That was Huawei. They sold like 50 million phones, I think, last year or something like that. That got them 3 to 4% of the total market.
Right.
Like nobody is taking them out anytime soon. Like it takes this huge, massive force to try and take down Samsung at this point. Like Google can't even do it unless they want to sabotage Samsung and have an antitrust case on their hands. Like it's not going to happen. Like it takes this huge shift. That's why that stuff, like just when you look at the sheer numbers of market share and profits, like none of this is changing anytime soon. This is the game for a long time. We'll have these smaller players like LG and Motorola and everybody else, and maybe they'll shift the numbers around at the bottom here and there, or Huawei or whoever else. But none of that is changing substantially anytime soon.
No, probably not. Probably not. So speaking of just value or money in terms of that, Google is now apparently more valuable than Apple. Is that official, by the way, or is this just like a random report from a random company?
This is some research firm that has the name Brands with a Z in their name.
No, a capital Z.
Yeah.
So it's pretty fucking. I mean, pretty official. It's exclusive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The brands, with a capital Z at the end.
I hate that letter.
Their secret recipe for how to predict
We
value.
won't tell you how we figure this stuff out, but it's for real. It's real, folks.
Hey, it made headlines everywhere. So good for Millward Brown brands. What did they? So they have Google up 40% value in the last year, Apple down 20%, then IBM in third, Microsoft 4, McDonald's 5. I was looking to see if there's anybody weird on there. Walmart 22nd. That's kind of surprising. I thought they would be way up there.
Yeah, Facebook is 21st over Walmart. And
Facebook ahead of Walmart. Yeah.
Samsung is 29th.
Amazon at 10, even though they don't make any money.
What about Nike? Where's Nike at?
Nike not on there.
What?
They were further down.
Sorry, Nike. Oh, yeah, that's right.
I don't believe this brand's finding anymore.
The list continues.
They're the greatest ever.
PayPal, 97. Look at that. All right. Yeah, sorry. I'm not seeing Nike anywhere. Oh, there they are, 34. 34, Tim. Right behind, right ahead of Budweiser.
Oh, damn.
I think we should just all make our own lists and not reveal what we're basing it on, and just list the top 100 companies.
And just put some numbers on there, like percentages from the last year.
Yeah.
Well, we'd have to do it 1 year, then the next year we could just randomly throw out a percentage.
Yeah, we'll follow up. That'll be great. Yeah.
I like that.
And we'll reveal it. We'll reveal how we based our decisions on the secret app. That's where we'll put it. So hopefully you're friends with us, and you can see why we picked the companies we did.
So since you're tuned into the Apple world more than we are, what did the Apple pundits have to say about this, or did they just all ignore it?
I didn't see anybody mention anything about it at all.
Oh, yeah.
I figured like Gruber and his crew would like dissect it on how terrible it was. No one even touched it, huh?
Not that I saw, because it's just some rant. Like research companies do that. Like they'll do that. Like Gruber and like he has this claim chowder. So like the other week, him and Moltz were, yeah, pretty good. Him and Moltz were both ragging on this guy that said that Apple had 60 days, which was like yesterday or the day before, to come out with an iWatch, or else the company was doomed.
Oh god.
Like people, like that's like analysts and research, quote unquote research companies do this all the time. Like the fact that he has brands with a capital Z at the end, like that's just like if Marco Arment found out about that, he would scream and die. But like he has a thing about people talking about their brands, and that's the thing. Like things like this when they come out, like if it's based, even things like the market cap of companies, like it fluctuates like crazy. It's not based on real things. Like Amazon has continued to have its stock rise until very recently, even though it has, I don't think, ever really turned maybe small profits.
Small profits, I think, yeah.
Like it's not like all these ways to try and measure what a company is worth or what its brand is worth or what it like.
It's pretty redundant. It's sort of imaginary.
Yeah, like there's no way to truly measure that.
Exactly. Like, how do you measure one's brand reach? You know, it's kind of like clout. Like I have a very high clout score, but give me a
thing is clout.
Whenever I tweet something, I get like 5 replies. There's no way I'm actually that important on Twitter to be
more accurate, clout or Millward Brown brands.
Just about the same.
It's toss up.
I mean, they both misspell words. That's good.
Yeah, clout.
Speaking of cloud, there is now a cloud app on Android, finally.
Nice little plug there.
Tim and I were trying to figure out what cloud does now.
Yeah, well, they changed it completely.
Social ranking, and now it's like a content service, right? Because they realize how big of a ridiculous thing they used to have.
I cared a lot about my clout score when I first started clout, and then the perks started becoming really stupid, and I was like, I don't want these perks anymore. It's just like dog food or something. And I was like, I can't change my dog's diet overnight, so I'm just like, I don't care about that.
And it's like the worst dog food you could ever want, yeah.
It's not the worst. It's not the best, though. It's not pedigree or something like that, but definitely. What pedigree is dog crap food? It's come on. They sell it at Winco. I mean, that's. You shouldn't buy your dog food at Winco. That's all. Come on, you guys.
Pro dog tip right there.
That's so specific.
Well, I live right next to a Wing. I'm in the Northwest. We have Wincos here.
I know. I don't know what you're talking about, man. Crazy Wincos.
Oh, you guys don't have Winco in California?
Yeah. No.
I think there's one.
Like Washington, Idaho, Nevada, California.
That's
why they're big. It's like me talking about Myers. Like that's only East Coast.
Right.
Yeah, we have mine.
Yeah. See?
Fred Meyer?
See?
Yeah, we have Fred Meyer here. Yeah. All right.
No.
Anyway,
Myers
so
is like
Google,
Walmart.
Google apparently is really valuable.
But the
All
real
right.
moral is don't buy your pet food at Lincoln.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah, I mean, that's really what this is all about. At the
that
end.
is the end of the story. Just
guys.
don't buy pedigree from.
Buy quality pet food for your dog.
Thank you.
Okay. Jesus. All right, so VoLTE is finally upon us. AT&T announced, I think it was last week, that they're launching VoLTE because they're trying to be first. VoLTE and HD voice in a couple of markets that I don't think anyone lives in. Let's see, what are the markets? Didn't even write it down. That's how small they were, apparently. Anyways, a couple of markets, and you have to have a Galaxy S4 Mini because it's the only phone that supports AT&T VoLTE. And then and the other person you're talking to has to have it as well, and you have to live in one of these like 3 markets. Anyways, Verizon also announced their VoLTE, but they're going a full nationwide rollout, and it's happening within a few months. So they weren't exactly specific, and almost all of their devices are supported. And since it's nationwide, once it happens, you will all essentially be able to take advantage of it, make HD voice calls, VoLTE. So data, your data connection will allow you to use data and make a call at the same time. The call quality will be better and all that good stuff. Kind of cool if you make a lot of calls. So we were kind of talking before the show on whether or not HD voice is something like these companies should really be bragging about. Like, since none of us, well, I assume that a lot of us don't make very many calls these days. I can tell you right now I don't really care that HD voice is coming because I don't make a lot of calls. But like Ron, you said before the show you actually do make a lot of calls. So is HD voice a big deal? Like, are you looking forward to having HD voice on your phone?
Less. I mean, HD voice would be helpful, I guess, because like call quality hasn't like dramatically improved, you know. So yeah, like that'd be nice to have that. So I'm more interested in having data at the same time, though, which is obviously something that GSM people have had for a while, but that'd be, obviously it's limited to LTE, so if you drop to 3G, you're still screwed. But that is something that I definitely think is valuable when I'm on a call and want to do something. If you're on Wi-Fi, obviously you're fine, but if I'm out and about, it's nice to have that option. So, but I think you guys are right. Like, more and more people aren't making calls. People are texting or using whatever else to communicate with each other. It's not with calls for most people. The only reason I make phone calls, honestly, is because of my work. So if it weren't for that, then I probably would not make very many calls.
Yeah, I think I talk on my phone like twice a week. How often do you guys make calls? Tim, when was the last time you made a call on your cell phone? Wait, like, and you initiated the call. You didn't receive one.
Me initiate the call?
Yeah. You could look at your phone if you want. Eric, do the same thing. When was the last time you initiated a call on your phone?
That's a good question. Sometimes I call the vet. You know, it's just once a month.
Sometimes.
That's a regular call, dude. You gotta change your pet food. Like, what are you feeding your dogs?
Well, you know, dogs get hurt. I called Papa Murphy's to order a pizza on May 11th, so that was 10 days ago.
On May 11th. Holy crap!
I'm looking now.
No one calls me.
I'm gonna start calling you too.
I use my phone.
Changing my number.
Calls a decent amount. About every other day, I'll make a call, either for work or home or ordering pizza.
Yeah, let me see when I last made a call that wasn't for
It's
work.
like Sunday I maybe made a couple. Wait, no, those are received calls. Those are missed calls. I don't even know. Actually, this Sony Xperia Z2 is terrible with its call history thing.
Okay, I made a call that was not for work on Sunday. That's the last time I made a call.
May 12th was my last one. No, 5 days ago. It's the last time I made a call.
If it's someone's birthday in my family, I'll call. Like for Mother's Day, I use the phone. So like holidays, something like that, I'll use that. Like a special occasion.
Yeah.
How
Well,
come I
yeah.
didn't
So
call on
like
my
Mother's
birthday?
Day was a couple weeks ago, so I made a few calls, and it was like a record for me. I made 2 calls in one day.
Dang.
It's a pretty big deal, yeah.
Yeah, when I have to call Comcast and complain, I make the call. Use my phone then too. So.
All right, so none of us clearly make that many calls, except Ron for work.
For work.
Eric a little bit. Tim for Papa Murphy's.
Yeah.
I also
yeah, wait,
make
I thought Papa Murphy's was a place you just walk in and pick up a pizza.
No, you call ahead, then it's ready when you walk in.
What? I thought they were just hot and ready when you walked in. Come on.
No,
That's Little
Little
Caesars.
Caesars.
Oh, okay, all right.
That's disgusting. People don't get your pizza from Little Caesars. Those
Don't do
$5. Those $5
I'm
pizzas
not a
are
fan of
no
it. That was
good.
just that's
Take
what I
the
thought.
second food tip of the night. Do not eat pizza from Little Caesars.
I've had Little Caesars since I was 10, so maybe it's good now, but
No, it is not.
No, it's
Okay.
not. But their breadsticks used to be so fantastic.
yeah,
'Cause they-
that's why my family went. And plus, we were poor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Food
$5 hot and ready.
Yep.
Oof. Anything. All right. Do you guys want to do Q&A or just whip it? No, it's almost 7. Do you want to do apps and games and call it? Or do you want to take like 2 questions?
Well, we can, if people put in good questions,
Yeah,
we'll do
if people have
Q&A.
All right.
I'd love to
Opening
talk
Q&A.
to the people.
Yeah, they just have to be good.
They better be good.
Oh, wow. All right, let's see.
Eric, you need to fix your mic, apparently.
Why can I barely hear Eric?
I can hear Eric.
I've had a hard time hearing him tonight as well, but I didn't want to call him out.
Brandon Giesel's back.
Brandon's back.
Here's one about Moto 360 and watches. So Tom says, what is your guys' take on the style of the Moto 360 versus the G Watch or any other rectangular watch? I would just say I think that's why I'm so excited about it, because it doesn't look like all these other rectangular smartwatches. It just looks like a regular watch. It's round.
Different.
Yeah. I think that's why I like it. That's why I'm so
Yeah,
excited.
I don't
know
think
about
there's
you
a
guys.
question between the 360 and any other smartwatch out there right now. Like, it's not even close, in my opinion. The 360 looks so much better than anything. Even the G Watch or whatever LG announced just doesn't.
That looks boring.
Yeah, I mean the 360 actually looks like a watch that you wouldn't feel embarrassed to wear on your wrist.
Yeah, the G Watch just looks like a fancy Pebble.
Yeah,
Not even.
that's where
It's like the Pebble got a top hat.
Like the Pebble got time. And a monocle.
It's like the Pebble is the Planters Peanuts, guys. What we're really trying to say. So everybody write that down.
No.
It's very important.
You heard it here first.
First.
I agree with everything Eric said. Thank you.
I work for a fashion magazine now, so my opinion.
You don't have to brag about it, Eric.
I know, damn.
Such fashion.
Man, do you hear him like talking down to me?
So
I'm
sex.
just saying.
So
Very, very plaid.
look at him shifting his glasses down at me.
Oh, jeez.
Oh,
All right, I had a question from Brandon. Where was that?
yeah, towards the bottom because he gets his questions in early. He knows what's coming up.
Oh, all right. So he asked about.
Oh, yeah. That's an acceptable way of saying FYI. There's been studies on that.
I think it was
true.
the X and the XLTE.
in the
We're
question.
using more X's, by the way. So Verizon announced XLTE this week, and Brandon wants to know, is the let's see, well, it's spread amongst the U.S. as AWS Band 4 deployment increases. So Verizon's XLTE is essentially Verizon deploying their AWS spectrum, which is Band 4 LTE, in cities across the country to sort of beef up their LTE network, because their LTE network has been getting worse and worse over the years as more people get on their LTE network. And so we have a whole list of cities at the site, and essentially it's in a lot of cities already. I mean, it's in mid-sized cities, big cities, really large cities, whatever. It's kind of in all major markets already. So I don't know that they're going to fully expand it out into like rural areas of the country. I don't know if they've announced that yet. All they've really announced is that it's now in cities. So if you're in a city, you should be able to experience XLTE and have better connection, essentially. Assuming you have a device that's supported, and you probably do if you've bought a phone within the last, I don't know, year and a half.
Yeah. So, but just to be clear, like that's totally like what he's asking is accurate. So it's just AWS Band 4. They're just rebranding something that already had a name.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah,
giving it
we
a
should
name.
make that clear. Like it's not like they have like this new technology that's coming out like that's existed. So
Right. They're essentially trying to make up for their terrible network by putting a fancy name on one that's been fixed.
yeah.
Terrible. I'm I feel bad for Verizon because they've been getting a lot of
I
guff
don't.
about that.
I
But I
never
mean, I know. But they brought LTE. It was the first one in America, and it was a big old thing. And people bogging it down because everyone has an LTE phone now. And bless their hearts, they came and they're giving us more bandwidth.
No, no. What just happened?
I don't know. I'm just
What has happened to the
I
show?
don't know. I just want another food recommendation.
I between the hand wave and the weird accent that just happened.
I know. I don't know why I did that. I'm sorry.
I don't even know what we're
going
talking
on?
about now.
Oh, I don't know. I need some more advice from Tim though. Tell me what to buy for my cat, Tim. I don't have a cat. Tell Kellen what to buy for his cat.
Okay. Later.
No, but all to get back on point, maybe. Like, yeah, they threw LTE out first. They've got the biggest network by far, according to a billboard I saw, bigger than everybody else combined. Who knows if that's accurate?
It was a big billboard, yeah.
Yeah. It was on the billboards. It's true, right? Like you can't falsify information on a billboard. I read it on the internet. Like that's the thing is like everybody jumped ship from AT&T and from other places to get on Verizon's network, and it's kind of sucky. So at least compared to AT&T.
Right.
So I still get great coverage. I'm out all over through the Inland Empire, and I still get great coverage. I've seen MG Siegler complaining he had terrible coverage in New York. When I was in New York, I was in Midtown, and I had great coverage.
He must have had a really old phone or something.
Who knows? Yeah, I mean that's like it changes and it changes by area and everything else like that. And everybody has different, like it's all very subjective. So, but I've been happy with it. And I get a lot better speeds than I did on 3G, which was absolute garbage on Verizon. So, like that's like I still when I'm getting on my phone, I get an LTE. I still for all the major stuff that I'm doing, I can't complain. So
yeah, their network is still the biggest, best coverage, and now it should be better in cities. Is essentially all that's happened, and it just has a fancy name. That's pretty much it. Let's see. Rashad wants to know, how's the Xperia Z2? So I haven't talked about it in like a week or so, but still using the Xperia Z2. We'll hopefully have a review soon. It's actually a really nice phone. I wish it would come to the US so you guys could all have a chance with it. The screen's pretty nice for a Sony phone. I don't think it's as good as the M8s or the Galaxy S5s, obviously, but the camera's really great. The battery life is insane. I charge it once every 2 days or something like that. What else? I don't know. It's a really nice phone. Like Sony actually did a really good job with this phone, and so I've actually kind of been enjoying it. So I'm gonna have a review hopefully soon. So yeah, if you're interested in the Xperia Z2 when it comes out unlocked or whatever through Sony's store for probably $800, some ridiculous price, it might actually be worth a look. Okay, maybe not $800, but it's actually a really good phone. Let's see. Do we have time for maybe one more question? Then we'll get into apps.
The one from Kian. I think he shouted you out on Twitter because you pronounced it right, and now I feel like crap for pronouncing it wrong.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Kian.
Kian X. I'm sorry. Please don't hate me.
Which one are you talking about?
Well, this one right here. With EvLeak saying no Nexus, yet code names popping up through Chromium for Nexus 6 and Nexus 8, Flounder and Molly. Which do you think is more likely as either? What do you think is more likely faked?
So he's wondering is there still going to be a couple last Nexuses before Silver?
Before Silver.
Yeah, so that is interesting. So Eric sort of pointed this out earlier, that February is a long ways away.
Yeah.
And we're sort of used to getting a new Nexus phone every fall. So if Google doesn't do that, it is kind of a long wait, but I guess if they're going to...
I mean, somebody brought it up that they usually pair the new Nexus with the new version of Android.
Right.
What if you want to release a new version of Android and then they don't have anything to push it on?
Which they wouldn't, yeah, if they don't introduce something. But I guess that could mean maybe we don't get a new version of Android in the fall and we get it with Silver. Yeah, that would suck.
Man, that's a long time for Google to just be hanging out.
Yeah, I guess I'm still having trouble fully buying into the idea that Nexus is going away. It still is kind of a program with cheap phones for developers. I don't know that Google fully wants to kill that, but we don't have insiders telling us about Android Silver right now. So I don't know. It's a good question. There are those two code names. Those code names have been around for quite a while.
Long time.
Yeah, I mean, we heard Molly back in like last summer is when we first heard that, and that device still is not here. We'd also heard, about a Google smartwatch called Gem way back then. We had a whole list of code names, and none of them surfaced except for like one, the Nexus 5. I think was the only one we got. which was Hammerhead. So I don't know if those are going to show up. Maybe they'll just show up early. Maybe we'll get those this summer. Maybe we'll get something at I/O, or maybe they'll have another event like they did with the Nexus 7 last year, where they kind of did a standalone thing outside of I/O. Otherwise, I have no idea. It's kind of tough to tell at this point. Google changes stuff all the time. Like Google will start working on something and work on it for months and months and months, and then just kill it right before you expect it to go live. So really tough to say.
And on that same note, I just got an extremely hateful tweet from Kian X saying that I pronounced his name
I
wrong.
told you it was too late.
Did he really get you already?
Yeah, he said /S, so there's some sarcasm.
No, unfollowed.
But
Reported.
yep, little hateful. Blocked.
That's really funny.
Blocked.
Oh, that's great. Okay. All right, that's enough Q&A. Let's do some apps and think about wrapping up. So first app, this came out today. It's called Secret. I attempted to use it, but you have to have so many friends in order to actually use it, and I don't really want to spam my friends with invites to Secret.
Mine just kind of showed up.
Get some friends, bro.
Yeah, I don't really want to go anonymous with all my friends, I guess. So it's an anonymous social network, and as I mentioned to Tim earlier when we were writing this up, it's cool for us because it's a bunch of people that hate their companies that write that start threads about their companies. So like when Nike axed all of its Fuel Band people, there was like this huge thread on Secret from all these Nike employees about how they hate Nike and throwing their execs under the bus and stuff. And then the same thing I think happened with something else. Oh, when Vic Indotra was leaving Google, like the day before, somebody on Secret was posting that he was interviewing with other companies or something like that. So I like it for that reason. I personally don't have any use for it, but it's an anonymous social network, so aren't you given just kind of like a card or a symbol, and you're a symbol essentially? And then
your symbol continuously changes. That way no one can kind of pinpoint exactly who you are. It's all about being anonymous.
Okay. And so you have friends on there and friends of friends and stuff like that, and no one should know.
Yeah, either you can search secrets by friends and friends of friends, or you can search by your general area. So secrets from people who are near you, which sounds kind of hot.
Interesting. I mean, I would like to play with it for a couple of minutes, but again, it says I need 3 friends. So
yeah. So when I installed it, it said I needed 3 friends as well, but it was I guess more people. It went through my contacts and started adding people that also use.
Oh, so maybe I just need to open it again.
Yeah. So. Yeah. And then it starts sending you notifications, and I'm going to share one because it's just too good. Apparently, this is one of my friends. I used to attract all the boys by telling them I could fart on command. Worked like a charm. The only comment is WTF. And I have to. That's what happens when you get Secret. You learn things you probably didn't want to learn.
So Ron, this has been on iOS for a while. Have you used it much?
I installed it when it first came out, and I had like 2 friends on there, so it's boring. And as of today, I've got at least 5 friends on here. But the annoying thing about it is like you don't have any idea who they are.
Right.
And so like with an app like this, like it's kind of like, and I don't know what identifying it, like if it's like my phone number or if it's whatever email address they think I'm using, and then like they have to have that too. Like I don't know how they're connecting people up. That's the most annoying thing, which I tweeted on Twitter. I tweeted it on Twitter. Is that like I don't know, like the only reason I would use it is to troll people, and like I don't know who I'm trolling, so that makes it kind of boring.
Right.
So like if I had an idea of like, okay, these are the group of people that I'm interacting with, and I don't know who's posting what, but I at least know who's in like the group of people that might see it. That's a lot more interesting to me and helpful. As opposed to like 5 random people that are maybe in my address book. I don't know, but I've got hundreds of people in my address book, so who the heck even knows who they are? Like, that's not super helpful or interesting.
Yeah, I had it for a few minutes, and then I uninstalled it. I was really bored. All I saw were, for some reason, it was nothing but tech-related bull, like, and not like company, like, funny stuff, but like, I'm assuming it was a girl, but she was saying, if my her downstairs could talk, she would have so much knowledge of Silicon Valley and all this crap. I was like, what does this have to do with life at all? Like, I just want to go meditate in the woods or something. It was like really dirty, kind of reading some of the stuff. So
that was actually my post.
Oh, jeez. Either way, I don't care about the secrets of Silicon Valley. So I was just like, all right, I'm out of here. Like, deuces, Secret. I watched the HBO TV show Silicon Valley, and I absolutely adore it.
Oh.
That's enough secrets for me.
Let's see. We've learned quite a few from you tonight, like Pedigree and Winco and Little Caesars and
Don't do it.
Silicon Valley. All right, so Secret's available now. It's been on iOS for a while. Now it's on Android. It's free. All right, so I just wanted to talk quickly about this app called Beautiful Icon Styler. So we talk a lot about icons, and Beautiful Icon Styler allows you to individually or with sort of a mass wave mask icons over icons in stock launchers. So like the Google Now launcher, if you really like the Google Now launcher, you can't just change icons unless you're using this app now. Beautiful Icon Styler will allow you to change icons on like the Blink Feed launcher or TouchWiz or just the stock Moto X launcher or the Google Now launcher. So you don't have to install Nova or Apex from one of those third-party launchers. So it's kind of cool. And you can do individual icons if you buy the premium version, which I believe is like $2. Otherwise, you can just set it to put on your whole custom icon pack. One thing, though, it only does it over whatever's on your home screens, so it doesn't skin the icons in your app drawer. So keep that in mind. But anyways, I think it's a pretty cool app if you want to use any of those sort of stock launchers. A lot of times when we're testing devices, I run like the Blink Feed launcher and the TouchWiz launcher and stuff like that, and I can't stand how their icons look, so I'm glad this now exists so I can at least skin them. So, all right, what else you guys got? Other apps?
Ron?
So I've got a couple apps. So the first one is Monument Valley, which actually, so that came out on iOS maybe a month ago, maybe.
You didn't even tip me?
No, dude. And it's already out on Android, which is kind of crazy. But so basically, it's a puzzle game. It's kind of, what's the guy's name? The guy that does optical illusions. I forget his name. It's like Escher or something.
MC Escher.
Yeah, that guy. So it's kind of like that. So basically, it kind of has a story, but it's not very well detailed. But basically, there's a bunch of optical illusions, and so you can move things, move like bridges and things like that to kind of get through the level. So it's $4 in the Play Store. And I think it's a lot of fun. I think it's worth the $4. I think there's either 10 or 12 levels, and it should take you like 2 to 3 hours to complete. But it's a really, really good game. I wouldn't play it on a phone because the levels are giant and gorgeous. I'd play unless you have like a Note 3 or something.
You could get
unless you have a bigger phone than 4 inches, that's 1080p. So any Android flagship, it looks pretty good.
I still wouldn't do it on an Android. Like I wouldn't do it on an Android phone. I'd do it on at least a Nexus 7.
Just saying, looks pretty good here.
I'm just saying it looks better on a bigger screen. So, but you know, to each his own. Hey, if you want to live the dream on a smaller screen, that's fine.
It reminds me a lot of the movie Labyrinth from the '80s with David Bowie.
Mm-hmm.
She's.
I think you're thinking of David Bowie.
Right, David Bowie. And it reminds me of that actually quite a bit. The last scene where she's walking upside down on stairs and whatnot and all that. It's a really fun game. That's actually the game I was going to talk about, and then you stole it.
See, you say stairs, and that makes me think of The Shining. So.
Okay. I don't get it.
Have you not seen The Shining?
It's a very good game. Go and play it. It's $4 well spent.
Yeah, I mean they put a lot of work into this. It's very, very well designed. It's short, and I don't think the first like 6 or 7 levels are all that challenging. The last level is definitely challenging,
and a couple of the last ones get pretty.
They get tough. Yeah. So, but a lot of like the design of it and how some of the levels unfold literally is pretty it's pretty neat. And they're working on more levels too. I'm not sure if that'll be like just a free upgrade or an app purchase or whatever, but it's definitely worth the $4, I think. So.
Right.
And then my other app, which isn't new, it's just Firefox. I saw somebody, I forget who, somebody was tweeting about how Firefox on Android performs better on Chrome than Chrome on Android. And so I just reinstalled it. In terms of scrolling and things like that, I did a big review of Firefox when they first did the big redesign of it, maybe a year or 2 ago. But it's still like for certain. Like I said, for scrolling and things like that and page loads and things like that, it seems pretty close to Chrome. But definitely in terms of double tapping on a page, it's like dead accurate on where you've double tapped. Like if you're on like the New York Times desktop site. That's where I did a little bit of testing. If you double tap on a certain section, it'll zoom right in on that, as opposed to in Chrome when it just kind of goes to the general area. So that's, I mean, not that you need to change your browser for that, but I think that's definitely something to, if you're still looking, or if you're still using like the stock browser for some reason, at least look at Firefox and try it out. So, because it's a good app, and if you use Firefox on the desktop too, then obviously you can get all the syncing stuff and all that.
Good point. Well, I will talk about my app. It was going to be Monument Valley, like I said, with David Bowie. But my app tonight is going to be, it's one that I actually just installed today, which I found in the trending category on Google Play for Android devices. I don't know if you ever used that, Ron. But
I've heard of it.
It's called Stay in the Line. And basically you are a dot, and then there's kind of like a level or lines kind of coming at you, and you have to move your dot to go in the lines and see how far you can get in the level. And it's kind of fun, you know, it gets a little faster, it gets a little tricky, it's kind of sensitive, and you can't go outside the line. And so far I think my high score is like 700. So if you guys want to download that, I'll throw a link in the chat, and you guys can try and beat my score. I doubt you'll be able to. But yeah, it's a really fun game. It's totally free. Don't have to, you know, pay to play, which is good. And too many times in life do you have to pay to play.
I don't mind paying to play, but it better
Excuse you.
It better be worth the payment. That's all I'm saying.
It better be worth it. Yep.
Dollars that I put into that game.
Story of my life.
You just want to get one direction of people's heads.
Yeah, exactly. And then so, Stay in the Line was my first one. Second one, I also have to. I'm back on the Whale Trail. I don't know if you guys ever played Whale Trail back in the day when it was first announced. I think it was like from late 2012 maybe.
It's an old game, yeah.
Yeah, it feels old, but they're still supporting it. It looks great on 1080p. I don't think I've ever played it on a 1080p device, and it looks awesome. Whale Trail is the story of a whale. He is on a trail, and he's floating through the skies with butterflies. And so I just love this song. You know, there's a great YouTube video that goes along with the game. So, anyways, you're a whale. I know the whale has a name. I think I just can't think of it right now. Either way, he's flying through the skies and the clouds.
Willow the whale.
Willow the whale. Thank you, Ron. Oh, you're the man tonight. So Willow is flying through the clouds. He's collecting, or he, is Willow a boy name? So he's flying through the clouds. He's collecting colorful rainbow-like dots, I guess, to get power-ups to defeat the angry clouds that are trying to, you know, crash him down and kill him, essentially, on the earth below. So your job is to press the screen and to let Willow fly among the clouds and collect rainbow power-ups. Oh. Yeah, if you want to know what Whale Trail is, you'd be like, that sounds like the weirdest game ever. But it's actually a really good game. It's a classic. I think the classic version is free. Or no, it's 99 cents, I think. But they changed the pricing. They made it like a premium or a freemium game where I think you got a free version that had ads and 99 cents to remove the ads, I think. But it's an old game. I know it's old news. It's kind of like Granny Smith, if I was talking about Granny Smith right now, which is still a classic game. Either way, Whale Trail, check it out if you haven't in a few years. It's still good. Yeah.
And it's by the same people that do Monument Valley.
Exactly. That's what made me go back to it. I was like, oh, the same guys that did Monument Valley, Whale Trail. I'm on the Whale Trail. I love this song.
This is my favorite episode.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
This is it.
Whale Trail.
All right. Any other last things you guys want to talk about? I just posted this in the chat, actually. But
yeah, do you want to talk about LG?
Yeah, LG always announces things during our show. It's great. And they have not let us down tonight with the LG G3 Quick Circle case. And it, well, we kind of saw some screenshots of this earlier. There's all these little widgets and things you can activate or something on the G3 when using this case. So it's got a giant circle across the front top area of the display. So it's like a flip case. And it also has Qi wireless charging, I believe. Yes, it does. So I think that was something that we found out that Oh yeah, from the FCC documents for the U.S. variants, it looks like the G3 will have wireless charging. I believe last year only the Verizon variant had it. There might have been one other variant that maybe did, but Verizon did. Nobody else, I don't think, did. So it looks like wireless charging is going to be standard in the G3, which makes me really happy. And yeah, this fancy cover, and it looks like it comes in a few different colors, like a bluey, turquoise, an ugly gold, black, white, and pink. So yeah, good stuff.
All right.
That's about all I got. All right, so yeah, any last words then? So Tim and I will be in. I think we can say where we're going. We're going to San Francisco next Tuesday morning, the day after Memorial Day, for LG's event. Should be awesome. Looking forward to it.
Yep.
Otherwise,
hands-on
after that,
too.
it's on to IO. Yeah, so we'll have our hands on it. All that good stuff should be fun. So, all right, well, thanks for joining us. This was episode 59. Should be back next week with episode 60. Big 6-0. Otherwise, we'll see you next week. Peace.
Bye, Ron.
That's him.
Bye, Eric.
Bye, Kellen.